What's up, everybody? It's Friday. A lot of stuff that I've been working on this week is kind of coming to a close at the end of this week. I submitted my update for the app for review. It's currently under review. I had to fix a couple things this morning and resubmit it, but it should be coming out in the next 24 to 48 hours, which is exciting because there's a ton of new changes and have all new tabs and a lot of things to analyze the markets and to analyze your portfolio and to do research for your portfolio and what you could be looking into. I think it's a really exciting update because I am moving into the freemium model. And so at the beginning of the, journey, or when I first released the app, I did have a free or a freemium model, which involved a free and a paid tier. But the free tier got way too expensive to run, and it was really hard for me to find a way to separate the free and the paid features. And the paid features didn't seem like enough to be able to convert people into paid users. And that was something that I had learned, is that I can't have, if people are comfortable with the free version of the app, they're never going to convert into a paying user ever. And that's what's so hard about freemium model, is because a lot of times if you have a free offer, people are content with that and they don't want to pay. But now I'm separating it into the free version, which is research and looking into the markets. And if you want to track your portfolio and have that in the app with all the analysis that it involves, that will be a paid feature, along with the social aspects of it, looking at the community, what movements the community are doing in the market, looking at your own groups. You can make groups with your friends, see what their metrics are. And the third one is a leaderboard for performance. So you can compete with your friends. You can look at performance. So I didn't want to do just return, because that can encourage bad investing and that can encourage gambling with options and stuff like that. And so that doesn't encourage good investing, which is the opposite of the goal of the app. The goal of the app is to build better investors. And so I made it into a performance leaderboard. So the top of the leaderboard is the people who are having the best returns with the least amount of risk. And the person who has the best ratio of that, returns divided by risk, which is the Sharpe ratio. The person who has the best performance compared to the risk that they're taking on is who will be at the top of the leaderboard. And I feel like that can encourage good investing. There can still be outliers to that. People can get crazy amounts of returns with a lot of risk, but it will still equal a high ratio just because of the sheer returns that they got. And there will also be people who have almost zero risk and mediocre returns that will also have a high ratio just because they're almost taking on zero risk. So there's outliers to it, but generally the best performers will be the people who have good returns and they mitigate risk. And that is kind of the goal of beating the S&P 500. S&P 500 is pretty low on the risk scale. It's pretty safe as far as investing in equities go. And so implementing a way to compare yourself to the S&P 500 is a good way to benchmark your portfolio and just see if you are better off investing in just the S&P 500. That's what I've been working on. Let's see, is there anything I've learned this week? I think one thing that was interesting that I learned this week that doesn't have to do with markets, but it does have to do with my faith, is I was explaining, we were talking about religion at lunch, and there was somebody of a different religion there, and he had asked, what is the difference between different denominations? And explaining the differences between denominations, seeing from the grand scheme of things why churches split up and what their beliefs are, really put into perspective the how little that actually means in terms of salvation and what we should be doing as a community. The disagreements between denominations, while they are important and you should go to a church that you believe has the same doctrine and beliefs, it isn't what gets you to heaven. And as long as you have the big thing right, there shouldn't be a lot of animosity between churches, as long as you're sticking to what the Bible says. And that was just one thing that I thought about this week, was because just thinking about how churches almost solely focus on their community within the church, and they stay confined to their one church. And the fact that there's no branching out and interconnecting all these different churches. And there is interconnection between churches of the same denomination, but there's not interdenominational connections, which is interesting because in the grand scheme of things, when God refers to us as the church or the bride of Christ, that's all of us together. And so theoretically, we should be all interconnected, but we're not. And that's something that I have been thinking about a lot. But I just said a filler word, so I'm going to cut myself off. Y'all have a great Friday.